Hi, I'm Ztarli and welcome to my video series on how I use Artflow. This is part 6, which is the final part where I talk about backgrounds. So here we have our completely finished character. All the colouring for the character has now been completed and we're now moved on to the last part, which will be to create a background for the character. I create a new layer to paint my background on and I delete the reference picture layer as it's no longer needed. Now I'm going to choose a brush to paint my background with. So I've gone to the spray paint section and I've just picked up a speckly confetti spray paint brush. So as I'm going to start with a simple background with not a lot of detail in it, just sort of a splash of colour for behind the character. Now there's lots of different options you could do for a simple background. I'm going to do 2 different things for this background, but you don't have to use a paintbrush if you're making a simple background. You could do something like choosing the circle tool and just having solid circles in the background, or maybe just do a white outline around the character and don't have any other colors in the background. There's lots of little different things you can do for this. So I encourage you to experiment with the different brushes and different options and just play around and see what you like. Once I've finished putting down a couple of different colors of speckles, I turn that layer off and I'm going to make a secondary layer, which I'm going to use a different paintbrush for. So I'm going to use a paintbrush called Watercolor, which is one of my favorites, but I'm going to turn the blending mode to normal, as by default it's turned on to multiply and I don't want to apply multiply color to my layer. I just want straight up color. So now I'm just painting some sort of blotchy pattern around the back of the character. I'll grab some different colors and mix them in together just to create some interest. I really do love this brush. If you've looked at some of my previous art, you'll see I use it all the time. And it's used for my Animal Crossing pictures too. So all of the cards I made for my Amiibo cards, I use this brush for the background in every single one of those pictures. After putting down a bit of shadow on my layer, I've now turned the speckle layer back on and I'm going to play around with some different blending modes to combine the 2 layers I've created together. To create again some more interest in the background, so it's not just a flat colored background. Although it's still simple, it's still an interesting background to look at. By this point you should also have decided if your character is going to be on a white background or if you want a transparent background or a colored background. I've decided for this simple picture I want a transparent background, so you'll see me flicking between the grey and the white background to make sure that it'll actually look good no matter what I've uploaded the picture to, whether it be DeviantArt if it's weird off colors or if it's on a white page or a black page. Now the other thing I have to consider, because it is going to have a transparent background, is how transparent the colors are in the background. So I've made sure that those pinks and purples are solid color and not very transparent. I've also decided to create a white outline around my character so it does stand out from that purpley pink background, and that any parts that are overlapping onto the transparent part of the picture will also have a clear line, so there's no sort of JPEGing or blurriness between the transparent part of the picture and the colored part of the picture. And that's pretty much all I do for the background on this picture. So I sign it, and once it's signed it's meant to be finished, and in fact this one is finished. But I will just load up another picture for you where I've done a more detailed background, so you can see how my process is for backgrounds that are more realistic and I spend a bit more time on. So this one's from a video I haven't finished yet. In fact, I haven't finished drawing this picture yet, but I did decide to work on the background before finishing the picture, and that's because I wanted a realistic background. And if I'm doing a realistic background, then it's important that I decide what colors are in that background before I do the rest of the coloring and shading on the character. And that's so I can make sure that the lighting matches the lighting in the background and that the colors are integrated to the character so it actually looks like it's part of the background. So if you do plan on having a more realistic picture, it is sometimes beneficial to do your background before you do too much shading and coloring on your character. So for this, I have actually got a reference picture. I didn't load it into the page. It's actually on my phone. I'm very bad at painting clouds. So if I'm ever trying to make a background of something I'm not very good at, I'll always have a reference so I could try and get a more realistic looking one. And I basically go about my backgrounds the same way I go about the painting stage of my characters. So I'll just choose colors, the light and the dark, and I'll just teardrop the in between and paint over and over and over again until you get this sort of paintery look. I'm then just adding tiny details to this, so I wanted to have some little lightning strikes in the background, which I did on a separate layer so that I could adjust the light of those layers without affecting the painted background. And that's my backgrounds done. So the last part of this video will just be the finishing touches to your picture. So I've just selected the crop tool and I'll just change the size to the size I actually want the picture to be, and click the tick so it's cropped. The next part, I'm just going to make some final adjustments to the color of the character itself. So using the effect menu, I'm going to go into brightness and contrast, and I just want it to be just a tiny bit more vibrant. So I'm going to turn the contrast up a little bit here and make it a tiny bit more bright. And then I'll compare the two images by going back and forth to make sure that I'm happy with my decision before I move on to the next fixes. And the very last thing you'll be doing with your image is saving it. So if we go to the three dots at the top, you'll find your save menu and your new menu. So we want to actually save this as an image now instead of just a project. So I'm going to click export file. And because this has a transparent background, I need to make sure I turn the transparent background on. And if we go to my gallery, you'll see that this has been saved with a transparent background. So you can see that if it's on black, it's black. If it's white, it's white. If you want to have a white background saved, but you haven't got a white layer, if you turn the transparent background thing off, then it will just automatically save it with a white background. And here's my finished picture, and I'm quite happy with how it turned out. Well, thank you everybody for watching, and thanks for watching my mini series. Let me know if there's anything I missed or if you'd like any other tutorial videos to help you with your art. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to hit the like button, and if you want to see more things like this, then don't forget to subscribe to my channel too. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!